I haven't been this excited for anything zombies related in years. The community for over a decade has been filled with rumors about a cancelled Zombies Chronicles type 5th DLC for Black Ops 2, but none of it was ever confirmed. Until earlier today, where out of nowhere we got a downloadable file and gameplay footage of a pre-alpha Origins and all besides one of the 5th DLC maps. As the footage gets rolling, I just want to thank Mr. Pinball64 for being the person who obtained these files, also Riley541 and JuggerV2 for uploading footage and the files to preserve it forever. Plus, lastly, I want to talk about JTag and Taleb for helping on the project. Now, you guys know I don't normally do React content, but with this, it's kind of different because you need a lot of technical experience in order to actually be able to play these as of right now. There's actually two different versions of this build, and they've sort of been combined. You can find the individual builds if you want, but they have been combined, and even regardless, it's still a huge pain in the ass to play. So if you guys can see that faint watermark in the top center, that's JuggerV2. He's actually the guy that uploaded some of the footage. He'll be linked in the description down below. There's a hour-long video of this whole thing. I'm just going to go over some of the highlights because this is so unbelievably cool. Right now, you guys are watching a pre-alpha version of what looks like to be the Origins intro cutscene. It has to be one of the funniest things I have ever seen because they're using the World of War models for these characters, and you can tell, obviously, this was just the very, very rough draft of where they were wanting to go with this whole thing, and it's also super cool to see how the sausage is made with zombies. This is probably what all the intros look like before they ever make it to the public. This was also only a couple of months before Origins released, so it's really cool to see that only in a couple of months everything changed this much, and believe me, there is a lot that has changed about Origins. It is going to absolutely blow your mind. But first of all, we have to get into the intro room, and that's just, I don't know why everything's blue, but that's cool. My favorite thing about this has to be that this looks like a Skibidi Toilet video, and I don't know why. It just gives me that little bit of an unhinged vibe. It sort of looks like Gmod, type models that they're using. I know it's not, but it still looks absolutely hilarious. And then wait for it, as soon as they look up, hold on, give it a sec, you're gonna see the Iron Giant. I don't know why that was the first thing that popped in my head. That has to be the Iron Giant from the old movie. Oh, have I not mentioned yet? Origins was actually named La Tomba. I don't really know if that's the French enunciation for it, but it was not actually named Origins originally. Then once you load in, you can actually see that there is some differences to the spawn room. He's obviously going to up his sensitivity here real quick, but you can see that one of the spawns has actually changed. It's over on the left side over here rather than on the right. Also, the table where he used to grab Max's brain is also different. I also don't feel like it needs much pointing out, but obviously this whole thing is very rough. You can see that the generators right here aren't really the way that they looked when they released. You can see that they haven't gotten the full outline to them and they haven't finalized the model, but this is still so goddamn cool. They're also using the Mob of the Dead zombies here, but if you actually notice, they did use the proper Templar zombies when they were doing the generator, so that's really interesting that they didn't have the final regular zombie model, but they had the Templars. You can also see that they're using some of the Mob of the Dead weapons as well. It's really interesting because we've heard for a long time that there was actually a difference between the two teams that were working on zombies at the time. There was a team that was working on Buried, then there was a team that was working on Origins. But this, you can actually see it really well here because it looks like the team that worked on Mob of the Dead was then the ones that worked on Origins, and that's why they're using all the Mob of the Dead related stuff here. Generator 2 is also really different because if you can't tell, they basically flipped the entire bunker right here because that mystery box is supposed to be on the other side of the whole room. There's also this gun over here, and that's really odd to me. I don't know why they put that there. Over Generator 3, there doesn't really seem to be too much different here, actually, which is kind of surprising to be honest with you, because Generator 2 has changed so much, but Gen 3 was basically the exact same layout. Once we get out into the middle area, though, this looks identical to the way it did on release, which is actually super interesting to me. But then once you get out a bit further, I mean, look at the excavation site. That's a little bit different. And believe me, we're going to get there. This map has changed so much that it is genuinely unbelievable, but it seems like it only changed in the back half of the map. Then we get to this point, which makes me genuinely uncomfortable because usually where Juggernog is supposed to be, there's actually stamina up, which is wild to me. I don't know why they changed the location on it, because when you guys eventually see where Juggernog is, you're going to be thanking them for changing this, because if you had to go all that way to get Juggernog, you would have not even bothered playing this map. Also, let's ignore the fact that the Panzer spawned in on round 6. Imagine playing Origins for the first time, and you get out into the middle of the map, you probably still have your pistol, maybe you have something slightly better, but then you get the Panzer on round 6 instead of 8. Once again, you are not bothering to play the rest of this map. Wait, actually, he spawns in again after round 6. This definitely has something to do with testing, because there is zero way that this would have ever been able to get through. I understand, it looks like the Panzer is a little bit weaker than he is in the version that we're familiar with, but still, imagine that. Alright, this is where things start to get really spicy. Once you go behind the excavation site and you start to head towards the church, this is entirely different. I want to stress this, nothing is similar to what it is on release. When you open this door, you get hit with a building and the Shi No Numa flogger trap right away. You head into a bunch of houses. This is basically a burned out village from what looks like Call of Duty 2. This is really cool to me, honestly, and it's absolutely fascinating. This is probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen in zombies, because not only is this just some missing textures and stuff, Origins' entire layout was completely changed before launch. Yeah, like I said, Generator 3 looks pretty similar to the way that it did when it released, but over here, none of this exists. By the way, yes, the church does still exist, we'll get there in a sec. Also, hey, here's Juggernog. Imagine having to go all the way here just to get that. Eventually, once they head through a couple more doors through these houses, you can actually get out of the back of the village right here, and you eventually get to the church. But there is this expanded area right here where this looks like it's a robot's footprint, and then there's also this house right here. Once you go into the basement, this is actually how you get into the crazy place. This was their version of getting into the tunnels. You have no idea, when I saw this for the first time a few hours ago, I was absolutely nerding out, and I still am. I'm still seeing new details, even though I've watched this thing like 3 or 4 times already. Pretty much every single time I look at it, I'm finding some tiny little detail that has changed from the release of the game, and I just love it so much. By the way, am I the only one that finds it absolutely crazy that they're actually able to do online co-op with this thing? I just noticed that. I didn't even realize how crazy that is, because obviously I understand that the infrastructure is in place to do that in Black Ops 2 in general, but the fact that they are over the internet still able to pull out a file that was never meant for release and then play it together without too many issues getting to round 9, that is absolutely insane. How do you even do that? Alright, so we've got to be quick here because they don't stay for very long, but look at the church right here. The generator is inside of the church, and then there's no backside of it. This is where they actually put all the stuff that's supposed to be behind it, but then they put it in front. Also, for whatever reason, the Modern Warfare 2 nuke sound is playing right now. You guys can obviously hear it, but I don't know why that is. Actually, wait, I realized it's because the Templars are taking the generator. Alright, so they do come back to the church right here, and this is the tank. I love the tank so much, and I also love that the little things that fill up when you're actually doing the generator are just sticking through the floor. But over here, this is also crazy because the village part actually extends all the way over here, because you could just jump off at any point right now and you could go into these houses. Like, there's actually a wall by once he turns around, you'll see it again. I don't think he actually goes in that direction, but there's actually a wall by right here that you could get to. So that is also, yeah, see, it's right there. That is so goddamn cool. Am I the only one that I feel like I prefer this layout of Origins? I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but this layout of Origins in the back half of it is actually really nice, to be honest with you. I've always loved that aesthetic of zombies feeling a bit like it's actually involved in the world, and just ignore the tank turning sideways. But I've always loved the idea of zombies being involved in the world that it's a part of, but we never really got that, and Origins felt very separated to a lot of things. And yes, that is the Pack-a-Punch. That is just so funny to me, it's so cursed. But Treyarch having this idea to actually incorporate the village that was near the excavation site for Origins is so cool, and I'm so sad that they scrapped that. But now we can actually get into the excavation site itself, and it is not as deep as you thought it was, because Jesus Christ, what is this? What is this little stone tablet right here that has all the elemental stuff for the staffs on it? Don't worry, yes, they do actually have an area they can go down into. I actually really like this cobblestone as well that they're using. It really feels like a 1990s MMO game. It's so funny, but there also isn't much down here. You can see the basic bones of what is supposed to end up being there on release day, but there isn't still a ton. You can tell that they're trying to figure out what to exactly do with it. I don't know, man. I'm just sitting here with this stupid grin on my face. Like I said in the intro, I've been waiting for so long for someone to finally release an early version of Black Ops 2, because if you don't know, we've had pretty much every other Call of Duty pre-alpha leaked to us beforehand, but Black Ops 2, for whatever reason, zombies has always escaped the community. Over the years, we've had like probably a dozen different versions of pre-alpha multiplayer in the campaign. We know pretty much everything about that, but because of the way that Treyarch does their development, or at least they did back then, zombies was always separated, so it never made it into these leaks. We never basically knew anything about pre-alpha zombies until we got some screenshots or some art that went up, but actually something that's super interesting about this whole thing is that there is supposedly a pre-alpha version of Transit, but they don't really know how to get it to work. Also, yes, this is the crazy place. Yeah, it looks a little bit different, because that's the grates that you can actually use to upgrade the fire staff. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the one for the wind staff. At this point, it looks like all the ways to upgrade the staffs are basically just by getting kills. They don't show it in this video, but I would be really curious to know just how far along you can actually get in the Origins Easter egg before the whole thing just craps out, because that's the other part of not really being able to play this yourself, is that supposedly it crashes a lot. You have to have a very specific setup. You have to mess around with a lot of things. You have to be very technically savvy in order to actually even be able to run the game, let alone have it not crash constantly. Oh yes, we can finally get to the staffs. Yeah, they have a little bit of a different model to them right now. This thing looks like an adult toy, we'll put it that way, just so the video doesn't get demonetized. By the way, there is a chance that Activision does take down this video. I just want to make that very clear. I don't think that they will, but there is a chance. So if you guys want to download any footage of this before it gets taken down, be my guest. Now, why would Activision take this down? Because yes, they have done that in the past. Prototype Preservation, aka Riley541, he was actually a big YouTuber a couple years ago because he was leaking a bunch of the older Call of Duty stuff that you guys have seen, but he actually got his channel terminated by Activision because he was leaking too much. So it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if some of the footage for this does end up getting taken down. Don't worry though, that's not the only footage. There's actually the ice staff, plus there's like a turret trap over here. This thing looked like it's straight out of the future. I don't know what they were deciding to do here, but this thing is super funny. There is actually multiple traps, and I believe he's showing these all right now, but Origins normally doesn't have any traps. So I wonder why they did end up removing them in the final build, because none of these really look too overpowered, honestly. Okay, maybe I can actually kind of understand why the flogger was removed, because the flogger was broken in pretty much every map that it was ever added to, but still, why not the other ones? You could keep the turret trap, even if it does end up killing you and no one ends up using it, but that tank trap, that thing was really cool, and I know a lot of situations where I would have used that myself, especially when you went down over by like Generator 1, and you wanted to go in and just try to get away from the zombies, go back to Jug. I would turn that trap on every single time. And yeah, as you guys can see, he's trying to upgrade the ice staff here. I don't know if you can do the full thing. He did all the puzzle pieces right here, and you can mess with the orbs, but I don't know if you can complete the whole thing. I think this is where it would soft lock you if you were trying to do the full Easter egg. Alright, so now we can actually move on to the next map, because that's where the Origins footage cuts out. This is Moon for Black Ops 2, which is a crazy sentence I literally never thought I was going to say, outside of it somehow ending up being a custom map way later in the future. And as you guys can see, it honestly looks not that much different to the Black Ops 1 version. It feels like they just took Black Ops 1 and then threw it into Black Ops 2. I know this is real 100%, I am not doubting that whatsoever, but you can tell how early this was, because even look at the hand model and the M1911. Those are straight out of Black Ops 1. I'm pretty sure those are the exact models that were used in BO1, which means they probably didn't get too far along into customizing Moon for Black Ops 2, which again kind of shows you that Black Ops 2 was meant to have a sort of Zombies Chronicles-esque map, but not really. I'm super curious to know how far along they actually got before the project was cancelled. Because as much as I'm kind of glossing over the whole thing right now, it is actually a ton of work to even get the Black Ops 1 maps to even work into Black Ops 2 and have them be compatible. So they clearly did put in a couple months of work to do this whole thing, but it just looks visually the same. I also want to talk about the butterfly effect with this whole thing, because imagine that Black Ops 2 did have a DLC 5. That sets the precedent that it's probably not worth doing it in Black Ops 3. And then imagine that Black Ops 3 doesn't end up getting a 5th DLC. that would have absolutely changed the course of zombies history. Honestly, I could argue that Black Ops 3 wouldn't be as loved as it is today, nor would it be as popular if it never got Chronicles. Who knows, zombies as a whole might not even end up being as popular as it is if Zombies Chronicles had never released, because you have to remember that it released at a terrible time for zombies where no one cared about it in the middle of the Infinite Warfare DLC cycle. The reason Chronicles released was because Infinite Warfare was doing so badly. Then as much as some people really like World War II Zombies, which came out in 2017, I don't think it would have really carried the community had we hadn't had Chronicles. And then we would have had to have waited all the way for Black Ops 4 in 2018, and we all know how Black Ops 4 launch went. So if Black Ops 4 launch went as badly as it did in our timeline, then that could mean some really bad things for zombies as a whole. It's a fascinating rabbit hole to go down because Zombies Chronicles was so instrumental, not just to what was added into the game, but the way that the community carried the sentiment and the good feelings that Zombies Chronicles created for literally years. We're still kind of riding that wave of Zombies Chronicles being the good times and it being the golden age and adding on to Black Ops 3. So that not existing in some alternate timeline is just unfathomable to think about. My favorite thing to think about in zombies is that in 10 or 15 years, once Call of Duty wraps up, or once all the old zombies developers have left the studio and their NDAs have expired, we're gonna get interviews about everything that happened behind the scenes with zombies, and that is going to end up being so insanely fascinating to me. I'm probably gonna end up making videos, even if I quit in 5 years, I'm gonna come back just to make videos about that. I love to think about this sort of thing, because then we'll finally get some of the community's most burning questions that we've had for 10 years. How close were we to getting a Zombies Chronicles in Black Ops 2? How close were we to not getting Zombies Chronicles in BO3? How close were we getting to Zombies Chronicles 2 in Black Ops 4 or Cold War, or even Black Ops 6 if that ends up not happening? I love that the Gersh device just doesn't work, by the way. It sucks in zombies, but it doesn't teleport you. There's no animations for it. It just kills zombies. You know what? It did its job. I can't even lie. I also think as well here that the Easter egg isn't fully completable, because if you guys saw the pyramid, it doesn't actually look like the full thing is there. And I'm pretty sure that you aren't even able to complete Samantha Says right here. So it kind of is a shame that no one will be able to complete these pre-alpha versions of the Easter eggs. But in the future, I would love to see someone work on just an addition to this and finally complete everything, put all the full textures in, and then just finish the Easter eggs. I would love that so much. Oh, apparently you can complete Samantha Says, but I'm not sure if you can go any further than this, because like I said, the pyramid, it looks like it's in a bit of a rough shape. Alright, this is the last bit of footage for Moon, and I still can't wrap my head around any of this, because you're seeing Black Ops 2 elements combined with a Black Ops 1 map, and knowing that at some point this was what officially was going on inside of Treyarch is just breaking my brain. It can't wrap its head around this. I'm sitting here thinking, wow, why does this Black Ops 1 footage look really weird? But then I look at the perk icons and I'm like, wait a second, that's not Black Ops 1. Oh, actually, before we go, I have to show you guys the biodome, because I feel like that would be criminal if I didn't. This looks so funny. I love that the bounce pads actually work. Hopefully he doesn't die when he lands right here. Yeah, so I find that hilarious that they work. Also, PhD being right there, that is a nice touch. We always love having PhD around, but it looks so much like Black Ops 1. I have no idea how they made it look so much like BO1 in a totally different game. Oh, that's actually so funny. You can get QED devices, but it doesn't change the icon. You can still see that it chose the Gersh device one. And then it goes all the way out into the middle of nowhere because the gravity is actually off in here. I'm assuming the excavator went through. I haven't been paying that much attention to what the excavators are doing, but that's so cool that the QEDs work. Okay, next map, we can get to Verrukt. This one, once again, is super cursed, and you guys are going to see why in a second. So right when you jump in, you can see that there's the FAL on the wall. I have no idea why that's there. Obviously, it's meant to be temporary, but there's also the ballista here. That's not the curse thing I was talking about, though. You guys are going to see that in a second. But one thing that you guys can actually see right out over there, you guys can't tell right now, but literally that pink thing right there just says delete me with a bunch of exclamation points. That's actually meant to be there as just a placeholder for another texture. I believe that's for the swastika. I'm pretty sure, because you're going to see later on that this exact same thing shows up. Oh, I didn't even notice this the first couple of times I watched it. What is that? What is that texture on the wall right there? It looks like you took a tiny texture and then just blew it up, and it looks absolutely horrible. What is going on there? Okay, so now we can get into the other side of the map, and honestly, this looks like it had some work done to it. Obviously, it still looks like it's Verrukt. Let's not try to claim that it's anything else, but it does look like Treyarch has actually put some thought and some time into this. it looks like there is some new textures from Black Ops 1. It looks like they put in all the wall buys. Most of them look pretty correct. They're obviously going to have to remove a couple because there looks like there's a ton of them. There's 2 down here. There was 3 in the room upstairs. There's 2 of them in spawn. Basically, everywhere you look, it looks like there's going to be a wall buy, so they probably were going to end up removing a couple of those, but this still looks like it had a decent amount of time put into it. All right, I believe this is where the curse thing happens. Yes, look at that. That is the transit jet gun in the mystery box on Verrukt. That makes me so uncomfortable, you have no idea. It's so funny now that we have the jet gun in Liberty Falls for Black Ops 6, and then this appears literally 2 months later after not showing up for a decade. Also, I guess bro just decided not to die, I guess. So the round is over, this zombie is dead, but he's just crawling into a corner somewhere. Okay. And here's a bit more of the jet gun gameplay. It looks like the jet gun kind of works, but not all the zombies are super happy about it, because normally you'd be getting slapped a lot more than this, and you probably would have died a lot sooner than that. Plus, you can tell all the zombie models really don't want to go away. It seems like once they're supposed to die, they either freeze right here, or they just continue to run into a corner forever. Now, I'm no game developer, but how the hell does that make any sense whatsoever? You'd think that it's the same zombies as there is in the rest of the game, but then why doesn't it work the same way that it does in the rest of the game? Is it because it's in the mystery box? Also, here's the winner's howl, which once again was not in Black Ops 2 normally, but here it is. Let's hope that this one works a little bit better than the other one, and it actually kind of does, it looks like. I'm pretty sure those are still the leftover models from the jet gun. I feel like they just haven't disappeared still, and it's probably been a couple of minutes since he did all the cuts for this footage. Then here is Shi No Numa. Once again, doesn't actually look too different, honestly. Hey Peter, so does he do the thing that he does in World of War? I don't think he actually does. I believe that they actually fixed that, and there isn't this weird thing where if you don't know in World of War, if you mess around with Peter McCain too much, the model will like flop around and there is a chance that it will end up killing you. Honestly, I really can't tell you. You guys are gonna have to tell me. Does this look like it was actually updated for Black Ops 2? It kind of looks like a halfway in between version of BO1 and BO2. It looks like this was probably the second round of editing that they did, because the text actually works there. Obviously, they had to add that in themselves and update and upscale the model for it. But honestly, this doesn't look... Yeah, this doesn't look like the Black Ops 1 version, honestly. Why does it make absolutely no sense whatsoever that it looks like Treyarch put a decent amount of work into the World of War maps, but then Moon looks basically identical to the way that it did in BO1? Was this the first maps that they started on, and then the project got canceled before they could really do a lot of work on the bigger maps, so to say? As much as I love this release, and it is so cool, it is absolutely fascinating in every single way, all it does is bring up even more questions for me. I just want to sit down with somebody at Treyarch and say, hey, please tell me absolutely everything that you remember about this. I want to go back in time. I want to be able to remember, I want them to remember everything. I want to sit down at their desk with them and look at this whole thing on one of the development computers and play through it and just know their thought processes. Yes, I realize I'm absolutely dorking out about this whole thing, but you have to understand, I've been fascinated with the pre-alpha versions of games for a really long time, especially for zombies, because a lot of stuff does change at the last minute with zombies. Even up to the week before it releases, there's stuff that changes. But then just to see this whole thing that we never even knew about, it's not like we had screenshots but never got the full build, or we had seen a little bit of gameplay but not the full thing. This just came out of absolutely nowhere. We never knew any of this was here. That's why I love it so much, because it does bring up all those questions of what was going on within Treyarch. Does this mean that there was more canceled that we didn't even know about? What about Black Ops 1? What about BO2, BO3, BO4, whatever? It's so cool. I also realize how long this video is, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on Shi No Numa. I'm just going to show you guys the cool stuff. Like, there is the Wonderwaff right here. And, oh, I haven't even seen this. I kind of skipped through Shi No Numa. What is going on with that? Why couldn't they get the waff to work? Wait, what? That is actually insane. Why is it just an explosive and it doesn't even deal explosive damage to you? That didn't work anything like the Wonderwaff normally does. What the hell happened there? I really hope that there's more of this, because honestly, I need to see what's going on with that. No, I'm so sad. I actually rewinded to try to find more Wonderwaff gameplay, but there isn't. I don't know why I thought that was so cool, but it is fascinating. Let's move on to the next map though. Now this is when I actually want to start in the loading screen, because real quick read, it just says factory blur in the background. This is actually going to be Der Riese. I also don't know why it was called Factory Lock. This is so interesting to me. Why is it called Factory? Because at this point, it doesn't really feel like it needs a code name. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called in the World War files, but why is it still named the same thing in Black Ops 2? By the way, I don't know if you could tell there for a few seconds, but this actually stutters. Like I said earlier, there's a ton of problems with these builds of crashing. Pretty much every single time that most people I've seen have tried to load into them, they either just can't do it, or they'll get in on round 1, they're just going to crash constantly. I don't know whether that's a general stability thing with these builds. I don't know whether that's to do with the emulator that people are using. I don't know exactly the technical reason for causing that, but there is a ton of times where there is a lot of lag. Also, if you guys haven't been paying attention, you'll actually notice that the zombies are using the Black Ops 1 Kino der Toten models, which is super interesting. We went from the Mob of the Dead models to now the Kino ones. Weird side note, by the way, but Riese looks a lot darker than it normally does. I don't know whether this is the settings that they're using in the game themselves and you could have just turned up the brightness. By the way, there's the M27. I didn't even see it the first time I watched this footage either. I don't know why this is here, but cool, I'll take it. But as I was saying, Riese looks really dark actually. I appreciate some of the highlighted, colors and textures that they're using, like the mystery box looks really cool like this, and some of the guns look really nice, but in general, why is it so dark? Let's go, he's got the Wonderwaff again. I hope that this isn't actually fixed. Imagine it's completely different from Shi No Numa. Let's see. It actually works. Wait, no, never mind, it doesn't. It does still do that explosion thing. Why is that? That is so strange, because it shoots out the beam of light, but the actual arcing that it does from zombie to zombie doesn't work. They just used an explosion. You'd think that it wouldn't take that much trouble to actually port over the Wonderwaff, because they used it in World of War and then they used it in Black Ops 1 again, so it's not like it's an old wonder weapon that they're not familiar with. They have the whole model right here. Why can't they do the arcing thing? Is it maybe that causes crashes and they just didn't include it in this build? Also, holy shit, this area is dark. This is with the power on, by the way. I could barely even see the teleporter right there. I do like that it actually looks like you can do Pack-a-Punch. This looks like it is actually completely working. Alright, moment of truth. Does the Pack-a-Punch machine work? It looks like it does. That's actually quite cool, to be honest with you. This looks like a mostly functional Riese, which, again, that's not really too much of an accomplishment considering that they had already made the map twice. They made it for World of War and then it was made in Black Ops 1 as well. Oh, that's even cool. Oh, the teddy bear Easter egg works. Oh, that's so cool. I like that. The fact that that's even in there, the fact that any Easter eggs are included in this at all is incredible. Obviously, it's not the most in-depth Easter egg in the entire world, but it being included at all so early on is incredible. Oh, I love that so much. Honestly, like I said, I've just been dorking out this whole video and I'm having so much fun. Does this work? What do we get out of it? It doesn't look like the whole thing is actually completed. Either way, that is still so much fun. And since you guys had seen the other World of War maps, you knew that this one was coming. Here's Kino der Toten. Actually, this one looks pretty nice, to be honest with you. Why does this look like it's really cool? Wait, why is the SMR on the wall? No! Oh, I finally get away from Black Ops 2 for a little while and I come back and I still can't escape the goddamn SMR. If you don't know and you're new around here, I've done the SMR round 50 only challenge for years and I've never been able to complete it. I've died multiple times on round 49. It is the worst gun in Black Ops 2. I got sidetracked though. Anyway, this actually looks really close to the version that was used in Forsaken on Cold War. I don't know why, but the lighting for it just really reminds me of that. Is it possible that they grabbed it from Black Ops 2 and then ported it into Cold War? Oh, here's something I never thought I was actually going to see in Black Ops 2. The thundergun. Oh, I've been waiting so long to see this gun in Black Ops 2 because obviously it wasn't in any of the DLC maps, and it works just as we hoped it would. Oh, that is so satisfying. Honestly, thank you to the guys that leaked this whole thing because I am having way too much fun watching this. I would love to eventually be able to play it properly without having to be like an IT expert, not having to have a master's degree in some sort of related field. I would love for an easy way to eventually play this because I would play the crap out of this. I would play it for videos for probably a month straight, to be honest with you. Because for anyone who isn't new around here, would you guys really like to see that hopefully happen one day? If this does eventually actually get working for most people, would you guys like to see me do challenges on all the old Zombies Chronicles maps that never released for BO2? Anyway, aside from that, we can finally get to Ascension. I haven't actually watched very much of the gameplay for this because this was around the point watching in the footage where I finally decided I really need to make a video on this because I was so zoned in that I didn't even think about it beforehand. Also, you'll notice that there is no audio for this entire map. That's one of the things that was actually talked about in the description for one of the videos that Riley had posted, was that they couldn't get every single thing to work. Ascension just doesn't have any audio for it whatsoever. And then even sometimes if you don't want to have to jump through different hoops, getting the audio for these maps is kind of a pain in the ass because you can play them a little bit more easily with no audio, but then you have to jump through, like I said, probably I think 2 additional steps to actually get the audio for it. And then there's a death machine, and it's actually the Mob of the Dead one. Oh, actually, one thing I didn't even notice up until now is that there is actually color. I didn't realize that without the power, there's actually still color for it. I wonder if that was going to be a decision that they kept in the release version, or whether it was just something that in these pre-alpha versions, they just wanted to look at some color, because some developer had to probably look at this for like 6 to 10 hours a day for maybe a month or something like that, and he probably just wanted to see a green or a yellow, maybe a red here and there. Oh, that's actually interesting. It looks like they're using the proper models for Ascension because they're using the scientists that have their little lab coats on. That's actually cool. They actually added that in for Ascension because I don't believe that those zombie models were used in any other map. Oh, they got the lanterns to work. Oh, that was probably a pain in the ass to actually get to function, to be honest with you, because trying to get moving vehicles, I know that there was a lot of weird workarounds that they used in like Black Ops 1 and BO2 to actually get vehicles to work. So the fact that they even bothered to put the time in to get the landers to work on a map that never ended up releasing, I feel like is one of those really nice touches that probably isn't going to go appreciated very much, but I noticed it. Oh, that sucks. There wasn't actually that much footage for Ascension, but it looks like Ascension. If you've ever played the map before, it doesn't look entirely different, but here we go. We can actually get to Kino der Toten. This one's actually super fascinating, and if you remember, in Verrukt, I actually talked about those missing textures. You'll actually see it in a second and why I thought it was the swastika flag. And it's because, wait a second, wait for it to load in, it's because all of them have actually been replaced with the delete me's. So I wonder if they were actually going to change it in the final release of the game to being the Iron Cross like they did in Black Ops 3. And if you don't know, the reason that they actually don't like showing that flag in game is because it automatically gets the entire game banned in Germany and I believe 1 or 2 other countries, but it's just one of those things that I think that over time they didn't really want to associate with Call of Duty too much. They just wanted to go along and do their weird little story. I think that's also kind of why they reinvented Richtofen a little bit and they didn't have that as part of his character. It's just something that they really don't mention too much anymore, especially because how awkward would it be for someone who doesn't know anything about zombies to have the good guy for the whole story kind of be a person who shouldn't get a lot of love and attention in the real world? This is also something that you don't really notice when you're playing Kino on Black Ops 1, but there is a lot of those flags hanging on the wall in literally everywhere that you could possibly imagine. Like, how many times did you guys need to put it? I can see 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them in that one room alone. For a second, I actually thought that the writing on the wall up there was actually writing, but it's not. It's just kind of scratches. I was going to say, are we going to get some crazy amount of lore that we never got in the original version? But no, this is literally just scratches, but it looks like the chalk. Oh hey, the M27's back again. I love that so much. The fact that they just included the M27 in all these maps is so funny, considering that in the real version of Black Ops 2, or not really the real version, but the version that we play, it actually only shows up in Nuketown, but the fact that it shows up in all of the DLC 5 maps is just so funny. I know I've said it like 6 times, but I just can't get over the fact that this looks like someone from the community just took a, wait, what is that? Is that a bonfire sail? What even is that actually? Is that a bonfire sail icon? Oh, actually, you know what it might be? Is it's an icon that actually makes it so that you know when the teleporters are linked and you can actually go to the Pack-a-Punch area. Is that it? Honestly, I'm going to be really sad if it's not that. I will kind of say, though, mildly disappointing that the thundergun doesn't actually get a Pack-a-Punch texture on it. That is a little bit disappointing. Again, I understand why it's not there. Oh, that's actually so nice. They added in the little rooms that you go into after you're coming out of the Pack-a-Punch area. Oh, the attention to detail, even at this level, is just so good. But no, it doesn't look like that was actually showing that the teleporters were linked. Why is this icon still here? I don't understand what it's doing. It's probably glitched, but honestly, my theory, I'm just gonna go with that one because I was wrong and I don't want to admit that. Wait, hold on, I was rambling and I didn't realize that he bought Double Tap, but then he drinks the Double Tap bottle and then gets Speed Cola. Wait, hold on a second. That just broke my brain. I didn't even realize that until I looked at the icon. I was like, wait, how does he have a perk? Wait, how does he have Speed Cola? I thought he just bought something else. Wait, what? And then we've got the last map that we can talk about for today, and that is 5. There's actually an additional map of Shangri-La, but apparently that was the last one to be worked on, and it's really unstable, and there's basically nothing to it. There is just a lot of missing textures, at least according to Riley. We haven't actually seen it, and it wasn't included in any of the footage that was publicly released, so honestly I couldn't tell you one way or another. I did just want to throw it out there though that it was planned for this version of Zombies Chronicles. I'm just going to keep calling it that, but Shangri-La was planned. Also, wait, look at that. All the wall panels right here are actually super interesting. What is going on with those? Those have actual pictures on them, and I wonder what they're supposed to be. But I guess we're just not going to find out, and I guess that, we're just going to go into the elevator and completely ignore all the stuff that was added that wasn't there in the original. Okay. It's so funny, and then literally 10 seconds later, nope, we're not going to look at the Pentagon room, we're just going to go right down to the basement to go turn the power on. Just like an absolute zombie Chad player, he goes, nope, I don't care about anything else going on. We're going to go turn on the power. I'm going to go get Juggernog. The lore can wait. All the cool new stuff that we haven't seen, all of this can wait. We need to go get perks so that we don't die, so that then we can go and look at things while getting slapped around by the one zombie left in the round. Oh, the Defcons even work. Honestly, it felt like Treyarch was so close to actually having this full thing be completed, but I wonder what happened. Why was this never released? Honestly, it feels like they probably only needed maybe like a month or two to really clean things up. Maybe with Moon they needed longer, obviously with Shangri-La they needed longer, but I feel like once they actually had finished Origins and they could put the whole team on it, why couldn't they have gotten this over the line to finish it? The fact that even the teleportation works, and so does the Pack-a-Punch machine, and so does all this other stuff, shows that they did put a decent amount of time into porting literally everything for all the different maps. Obviously, stuff like the Wonderwaff, as we showed, doesn't 100% work, but all the core bones and most of the details are here. Like, yeah, you can even jump through the window. There is so many questions to be asked, and this is basically the end of the gameplay. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Zombies Chronicles for Black Ops 2 existed, and we finally got to see what Origins looked like before it released, because I've been wondering about that for over a decade too. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, a link to Jugger's video will be down in the description if you want to watch the whole thing uninterrupted. It's really cool. Honestly, Riley will be down there too. I can't leave a download link because that would probably get taken down by Activision, but still, thank you for enjoying. Leave a like, subscribe if you guys are new. This was so much fun to do. Love you. Bye.